Welcome to session number 16. Now, in this session, we're going to have Carl Storms from BIM Track. Now, BIM Track is one of our gold sponsors, so I do encourage you to take the time to have a look at their offerings. I personally believe, and I've been hounding the guys at BIM Track when they've been attending the Built conferences constantly about when are you guys going to have an add-in or an add-on that will connect to Archicad. And only just last year, Advent, based out of France, created the add-in to enable us to actually get direct access to BIM Track in Archicad now. I'm really excited about this product. I think if I was back in major practice again, working and managing issues with multiple stakeholders, it would be part of my suite again. And I look forward to the time when my practice grows again to enable me to do that. But now I'd like to hand you over to Carl, and today he's going to share with you how BIM Track can help architects focus on what they do best, and that's in delivering award-winning designs. So thanks very much, Carl. Take it away, mate.
Thank you, Nathan. Hello, everyone, and welcome to How BIM Track Helps Architects Focus on What They Do Best, delivering award-winning designs. Or, shorthand, how BIM Track can help you save time and do the stuff you love. So let's get started. So first off, if you're looking for a copy of this presentation, you can head over to the BIM Cider website and download it there, or take a picture of the QR code, and that'll take you directly to a Dropbox download. I'll do my best to remember to flash up that QR code again at the end for anyone that's looking for this presentation. All right, well, let's jump into it. So Nathan did a good job of the introductions, I should say. I am Carl Storms, Technical Solutions Lead at BIM Track. I've been in the AEC industry for a little over 20 years now and done a little bit of everything in that time. Commercial, residential architecture, did some time on the GC side doing BIM, VDC coordination, worked at the local community college, worked as a consultant, doing all things AEC really at that time, helping clients go from 2D to 3D onto full-fledged BIM implementations. And I've been speaking globally since 2014, one of my favorite things to do. But enough about me. Let's go ahead and jump into the presentation. So I think we're all familiar with the idea of how we have to take a project from conception through to delivery, and then hopefully on into operation. So we want to make sure that we have all the information that we need in one spot, that we've got everything together, and then we move on to the construction phase where we get some things like QA, QC, clash management, maybe fabrication if we're going down that road, and then we deliver that over, make sure we've got our validation in place, everything is ready to hand over to the owner, he's got his manuals, everything's set. The problem is that while we all know that workflow to get from A to B, it doesn't always go as smooth as we want, and therefore eats into some of our valuable design time. So this might be a typical coordination workflow, and as the slide says, it really shouldn't be a challenge. So we've got our managers running that project, maybe Navisworks or Celebri. They get everything set up, they pass it on to the stakeholders, and then those engineers, the architects, managers, those people that are working in it are going to do their best to add their 2 cents, add their information to the project, and then they're going to share it with everyone else. Unfortunately, that's one of the big pain points now, is that sharing. Maybe there's an email, maybe they're doing a markup on a PDF, perhaps they're sharing models or thumb drives, or who knows what they might be doing. But we've got information everywhere, and it's not always easy to track or to execute. And then all of that stuff, all those things that need to be changed, all those things that need to be addressed to get passed on to those people that are working in the products, Archicad, Tekla, AutoCAD, to make those changes, and then the cycle starts all over again. The problem with that, as I mentioned earlier, is we don't have accountability because the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. We have follows up, and the last one, that big one, the fact that it's time consuming, we want to prevent that. So there's got to be a better way. Well, there is. So if we're working with the BIM Track workflow, the idea is that everything's kind of central inside of BIM Track. We save everything up to our cloud platform, all of the issues, all of that metadata, and then it goes around in a nice circular way, meaning that when that BIM VDC manager finds an issue, something needs to be addressed, they can pass it directly on to the person that's responsible for that can make those changes in products like Archicad. We can also share that information on the Web Hub so anyone can access that in the project, meaning that they don't have to have BIM software to be able to add to that information, to review that information, and to share their knowledge with the entire team. So this makes things a little bit easier. We have definitely accountability, and we get more time back. And again, that's how we get to spend more time on those award-winning designs, is the fact that we have more time. It's not about not wanting to spend the time, it's about not having the time to spend. One of the other great things is that we tie in with a lot of different products. So that means whether you're working with Archicad or Navisworks or NextBIM or Aconex or whatever that might be, you're able to do your work, do your coordination, do your review in the platform that you like, and then share it with the rest of the stakeholders on the team. Now, for this particular demonstration, we're going to focus on Archicad, hop in a little bit of Navisworks, a little bit of Power BI, and then spend a little bit of time in Enscape, not necessarily in that order, but just to give you a taste of the ecosystem. So what this allows us to do really is we want to simplify that task. We want to make things a little bit easier. We want to make it easier by giving you access to what's been assigned to you or what you need to assign somebody else in your product of choice. We want it to be able to share it with everyone. We want to have that accountability and transparency. And as important of all of that is the fact that we want to be able to quantify that. We want metrics. We want to be able to see that information so that the next project or 5 projects down the road, we can discover those trends, those patterns, and we can make sure that the right people and the right processes are in place. Part of that metrics is exactly what we see here. So as we're working through different projects, and each project, we have a full suite of metrics directly inside of BIM Track that you can access anytime you log into your Web Hub. But we've also been able to take that one step further with our integration into Power BI, which gives you the ability to see all of your Hub's metrics in one spot. So in-app, project by project, integration with Power BI, entire Hub, and you can see all of your metrics at your fingertips. All right, so that gives us a quick overview of what we're going to do. Leaves the bulk of the time for a live demonstration. So we're going to start inside the Web Hub. So let me pull that up on the screen. So if we go back into our Web Hub here, you can see that the first thing we see is that we have access to 17 projects. So when you're working with BIM Track and you get a BIM Track Hub, you get unlimited projects. So I currently have access to those 17, but there could be 100 projects in the Hub. You only see the ones you have access to. So let's hop into our project here. The first thing that pops up is our dashboard. So inside the dashboard, we have recent activities. All these blue links are applicable, which take you directly to something that may or may not need to be addressed. We have our recent user activity, our mountain range view, as I like to call it, to see how many people have been active in the project on any given day, and then a quick overview of current issues inside the project. We really get going when we hop into the issues page. So when I click on the issues page, you can see all of the current issues that are inside the project. We can see this hybrid view. I think it's my favorite. But we also have a smaller view, and then we have sort of like a grid level, so we can see a lot of information very quickly. We also have the ability to use the search feature to hop into an issue directly right away. So we just click on here and put in the issue name, the number, or some combination, and to be taken directly to that issue. So we click on that, it takes us into our issue. First thing we have is our lead image, XYZ coordinates. Coordinate systems are very important in BIM Track. You want to make sure that all the projects or models you're working with in your project are running on that same coordinate system, and then BIM Track's going to work as expected. Down here we can see the information that was added to the issue when it was created. And over on this side we can see all of the back and forth that's happened, all the information that's been added in the comments section over the life of this particular issue. At any point we can use the @ symbol to bring other people into the project. And whether it's an individual or an entire team, you can get their knowledge. And when you're setting up your project, you create the teams. I usually do them as discipline, but they can be really any group of people that you want to receive notifications at the same time, and you can create as many of them as you wish. As well as having unlimited projects, we also have unlimited storage. So that means I can drag and drop pretty much any file I want into this location, and the files that I drag and drop here will be associated to this issue. So currently this issue has a PDF and a job site walkthrough video. Anyone that has access to this issue has access to this content, and then they can download it on their phone, their tablet, their laptop, whichever device they want, and open it in the proper app or software for that file format. We have a complete non-delete history, so everything from the beginning of time, or the beginning of time for this issue, is available in time and date stamps, so we can review it whenever required. This particular project is also taking advantage of one of our integrations with Procore. But if I click on our integrations tab here, you can see, here's all of our add-ins. We've got our integrations. We just saw Procore. We'll be looking at Power BI and Enscape later. VREX is a great one if you're doing virtual reality. And then we get into our BCF or BIM collaboration format. So that's the intelligence behind issue tracking. That's where all the information, the metadata is stored, and that allows you to extract that information, put it into the products that you want, and make use of it. Now, if you didn't see an integration, a workflow, an add-in that you liked, we do sit on top of a completely open API. So if I click on that API, this gives you a quick look at it. And essentially that open API means that whether it's you or someone in your firm that's got a little bit of coding chops or knows how to work with APIs, they have the ability to come in here and extract data from BIM Track and put it into the location, the workflow, the product that is needed to take advantage of that information or that data. So if I hop back into here, click back into my issues. Now, if you're not looking for an individual issue, but you're looking for groups or trends or other types of information, we can go into our quick filter. And so with our filters, I'll show you quick filters in a second. But you can see when I click on the filter tab, we have all of these dialog boxes that, or categories that come out of the box with BIM Track. The information that we see in here, we add when we're creating a project. We can then save that as a project template so that the next time we do a car dealership, as an example, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. The quick filters allow us to select some information and then save that for later. Maybe we're looking for all the critical and high issues that are for architects only, and we want that to be sorted by priority. So we've set all that information up. We come into quick filter, and we can then Arch, save that, and if I click shared, then when I hit add, it's going to be shared. Everyone on the team has access. If I don't click shared, it'll go under personal and means only I, the creator, have access. And if we close out of here and we go ahead and apply that, you can see that we're now down to just 7 issues: architectural in nature, critical, and high. So it's a way that we can sort of slice and dice the information as needed. That's very helpful when working with our filters. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to hop into Archicad and see what we can do with BIM Track in that environment. So let me open up Archicad here. So here we have Archicad. You can see we've got our same model in place. And the first thing we want to do is open that BIM Track add-in. So it's made by our partner, Advent. So we select on here, BIM Track, log in, and it opens up our add-in. So the first thing we want to do is put in all of our information. So now we can see that our little add-in is popped up after putting in your credentials. We click on the little logo, and this shows us all the different hubs we have access to. So let's select the proper hub, and then we can choose the proper project. And now as it's thinking, it brings that into place. So we've chose the proper hub, the proper project, and now we have access to all of that information that we saw before. So we can quickly select on an issue, hit this little pull-down tab, and it gives us a quick screenshot. So we've got the screenshot, type, priority, who it's assigned to. Just a quick screen cap, or a quick recap, I should say, of the information. We can click into the 3 little dots. We can click View a Model, and it'll take us directly to that location inside the model. We can also click View and Edit. And so what View and Edit does is it gives us the ability, as the pop-up opens on the wrong screen, as it always does, to see everything that's happened in this issue. So here's our image, all the information that was added to it, the history, comments, all of that information is there and ready for us to get access to it. We can do viewpoints, clash pinpoints, create viewpoints. So if we needed to make some adjustments for whatever reason, I'm going to go ahead and select on this, and I'm going to move this around. And let's just say that we needed to adjust this image. I can say viewpoint. I can add this view, which will add it to this, so there'll be 2 viewpoints instead of 1. Or I can update this viewpoint if I wanted to update it. So let's say add from view. And as it goes through and processes that, we'll see that we now end up with 1 of 2. So we now have 2 viewpoints to work with. We also have the ability to open a web. So if I click this, it's going to open up the web interface. We saw that a little bit earlier. And then we have archive. So what archive does is archive is going to close the issue, and it's going to put it in the archived area, which means you can no longer see it. You can only see active issues. It doesn't delete issues, so you always have access to it if you need to go back into the archives and find it, but it takes it out of the location and lets you see what's going on there. So that's kind of the quick and dirty of what you can do with the add-in. Now, of course, as we're scrolling around inside here, and if we find something that needs to be addressed, and it just so happens that there's definitely something that's not quite right up here. So now I want to create an issue of this. So you can see I can create an issue, and if I create an issue, I go ahead and I click this dialog box. It's going to, click this button. It's going to take a screenshot. It's going to pop on the dialog box, and I fill in some information, and we're off to the races. And sometimes that's good enough. Sometimes we want to be a little more specific, and we want to pick the exact location. So now what we're able to do is we can go ahead and create that location at that issue. So we're using localized location. So if I click on this, I can pick the exact spot I want that to be. So I go ahead and click that. There we go. So now we see we've got that dialog box popped up in place. We've got the image. We can assign it to Bob, priority, zones. We fill in all this information. And the more information that you fill in the issue, the more ways you can slice and dice it later on. And so we want to make sure that we put as much information as we can. Now we can use notify. So notify allows us, think of it like a CC in an email. It allows us to give somebody a heads up. So it's assigned to Bob, he's still responsible. But the architecture team is very keen to know what's going on, and so is the mechanical team. We can give it a title. A title is required. Pipe in BIM. Give it a description. More info. Type, status, phase, confidentiality. So this controls who can see the issue. So let's say the architecture team and the mechanical team group. We also have the ability to create custom categories. And what I mean by that is that I can put whatever information I want into the zone category when I'm creating the project, but it still may not make sense to create that under zone. So we can create up to 6 custom attributes, or custom categories, if you will, to track the information that you want. And you can have predefined information, like for my install here, which quarter it was installed in, or like my unit code here, it can be just blank information where I can type in whatever it is that I want to put inside here and have access. And that's not good. So I can type in whatever I want to have access. So now that everything's done, I can go ahead and say apply. It's going to create that issue, send it up to the cloud, and now everyone else is going to have access to that issue. And you can see there's my new issue created in place with all of that information set up to go. Now, we also have the ability, as I'm scrolling back out here, to take an issue that's already corrected, or to take an issue that already exists and correct that, which is typically what we might do in authoring tool. So to do that, I'm going to take a look at our filtering system. So we saw this a little bit when we were in the hub. So I can click on the filters, and you can see all the things that we can filter inside of here. One of the things that I can do with my filtering is set up, think of it as like a to-do list. So I'm going to find all the ones that are assigned to our structural engineer, Erica. I'm going to have everything that's assigned to her, and then I want everything to be sorted by priority. Hit apply. So now these are all the issues that are assigned to her in order of criticality. Red is critical, yellow is high, green is medium, blue is low. And so now I have the ability to be taken directly to those issues to start solving it. So somebody somewhere that's working in the project in some product has found this issue for me to address. So again, we can use the little pull down to get quick ideas, but we sort of know that information already. So now I come back inside of here, and I'm going to click View and Edit. So View and Edit gives me all of the information inside here. So here's that image. Here's all of the information. We can go down here. We've got all of the history, the comments. So now we've sort of gone through this and read it. We kind of have an idea what's going on. So now we can make an informed decision. But before we do that, we're clearly not there. Let's have the power of the software take us directly there. So I'm going to go ahead and say View and Model and have it take us directly to that location. So now we're here. After reading the post and taking a look here, we can clearly see that the issue is that the beam's the wrong size. We need to adjust that head. So we can go ahead and do that. So first I'm going to select this beam, and I see that it's a 12 by 16. So I hit Escape. I'm going to go ahead and select this one. I'm going to unlock the layer. I'm going to change this beam to the proper 12 by 16, I believe it was. 12 by 16. So we've done that. And now we need to adjust its height. And again, if I select on this beam, I can see, select on this beam, minus 152. So if I pick on this beam, let's minus 152, put that into place. And now we've essentially fixed that issue. So now I need to pass this information back onto the team. So one of the tricks of the trade that I like to do, so now we want to pass it on to the team. So one of the things that I like to do is I go back into here, I select these three dots, and then I come down inside of here and I go to my viewpoints, and I can add from view. So what this is going to do is it's going to add this as another viewpoint inside of my project. So I go ahead and say add from view. It's essentially taking a screenshot of what I just did, and it's going to add this. So we'll see you in a second, and we now have 1 of 5. So if I go back into here and I say View and Edit, I can now change the status of this issue. I can also add a comment. So if I go back into the comment, I'm going to put fixed with W12 by 16 header, and then I'm going to say CVP, viewpoint, 5 for info. So I put that in there. I hit send. So I've added that information. If I quickly scroll through, you'll see here's viewpoint 5 so they can see what I did. And the last thing that I want to do is I want to update the status. So I want to go from in progress to ready to review fixed. So I hit fixed. So now I've updated that issue. I scroll down. I hit apply. And now we're done. And you can see that once it's done, it's changed here to ready to review fixed. One of the other really cool things you could do when you're setting this up is when I created my filter, what I could have also done is change the status. So it can be any status in here except ready to review fixed. And so now when I hit apply, because I removed that ready to review fixed status, I no longer have that issue. So it's like I checked it off my to-do list, and now I get to carry on. So that's a really cool way of being able to keep up with your to-do list, and as things are done, then move on. You may have also noticed that when we were in there, and I'll just use this as an example because the other one's now gone, is that when we were working with our statuses, there wasn't a closed status. We always recommend that you keep the closed status for the BIM manager, the VDC coordinator, whoever's running the project, because we don't typically want people closing their own issues. We also don't want a lot of cooks in the kitchen. This also, and probably maybe a little more importantly, means that when we have all of these issues that are marked ready to review fixed, that we get that second set of eyes that validates that that in fact is the proper solution. It may be a solution, but maybe it's not the right solution for this project. So somebody validates it before they close it. So that's another handy thing to keep in your bag of tricks. One other thing that we can do in here as well is we can also create many issues at once by using views to issues. And essentially what this does is it allows you to select from the 3D views you have in your project and create many issues from them at once. So if I were to select these issues here, I can fill in this information. So let's assign those to Bob, medium, they're going to be in the office, discipline. You know, some information may not be relevant because there's multiple issues, so you find the information that's relevant, and then we go ahead and say apply, and it's going to create those 4 issues and send them up to the cloud. So while that's processing in the background, this might be a good time to take a look at the Enscape integration. So I've got Enscape fired up in the background. So if I go ahead and click on that. So this is our lovely car dealership here inside of Enscape. And what we want to do now is we want to take advantage of the new collaboration feature. So if I come up here and hit on the collaboration tab, there we go. So it pops up inside of here. And then we want to go here and choose BIM Track is how we're getting the source of our BCF. Then we want to click login. So now it's going to ask us to log in. Once we're logged in, you'll get a little window that tells you, hey, you're logged in. So then I can hop back here inside of it, and now we have access to everything that's inside of that hub. Choose the proper hub, choose the proper project, hit save, and so now we have all of the issues that we saw before. So we have those new issues that were just created. You can see here those BT front export back pipe issue. So if I were to click on one of those, it's going to take us directly to that location. And if I zoom out a little bit, you can see it here, right there. And then I can also, if we cancel out of here, go back. There we go. Go back. And if we go into one of the issues that we've been working with, let's say wrong header. So I click on that, and you can see it takes us directly into that location where it comes into play. And you can see that we've already fixed that header. You can see that it's the same size all the way across. So it's kind of cool that it's real time and we fix that, we see it, we have all of that information, so we access all of that. We can also create issues from here. So if I go back here, and we can see that there's something definitely wrong right up here. So if I go down and just scroll this around, there's definitely something funky going on right here. This needs to be addressed. So I can create an issue. So make sure I get the right view, everything looks good, and then I just click create an issue. It's going to take a screenshot. Again, just like we saw before, I'm going to go ahead and add in information. Duct versus beam. Move duct. Issue. It's medium. I'm going to assign that to my mechanical folk, and I'm going to assign it to my structural folk. This is my mezzanine. So you go through and add in all the information. I'm going to assign that again. Let's assign that to Erica. So we've got everything that we need to do inside of here. And then I hit create, and it's going to go ahead and save that. So if I go back while it's done, and I hop back into here, and I go back, I assign it to Erica, so I say apply, and we refresh. We should see that issue we just created in Enscape, which we assigned to Erica, will appear here on our list because we're still using that filter where these are just issues that are assigned to Erica. Now what it's doing and why it's taking some time here is that it's rendering that issue rendering that view inside of Enscape, so it takes a moment to do that. All right, looks like it's in. So now we've got that new duct and beam that we put into place. And again, if I go ahead and click in here, view and model, it takes us directly there. And we can see that we've got the information just up here that needs to be addressed. So that kind of gives you an idea of the things that we can do with this integration inside of Archicad. You can also see that we've got our great big pinpoint that comes into play. The scale's a little off of whack. If I zoom out, it looks sort of a little more realistic. I also have to stop my Enscape running in the background. And if we come into these 3 dots here, we can hide them, and then those clash pinpoints will go away. So it gives you an overall view. One of the other things that we can do inside of here is we also have the ability to publish our content. So not everyone that's working inside a project is going to be working inside of BIM software, Archicad, Civil 3D, Tekla, Navisworks, whatever that might be. So we can also go back to our add-in and we can hit publish. And what this allows us to do is this allows us to publish the content, in this case our models, as IFCs. So I'm going to publish my export drawing. I'm going to append this to a previous version I've already done. I can also select the models I want to publish as, the sheets I want to publish as PDFs. I hit publish. It'll churn through and send all that stuff up. Now, I've already done that, so I'm going to cancel out as to not have that running away in the background. But now let's hop back into the web hub. Actually, wait, before we do, let's hop into Navisworks real quick to take a look at clashes. So we're here inside of that same file. I can hit refresh real quick, and you can see that those new views that we created, those pipes are all available inside of here. And again, we can click view model and be taken directly there, so we have that access. So it's really cool that the products sort of gel together. But one of the big things that we use Navisworks for, of course, is clash detection. And while BIM Track doesn't do the clash detection, we rely on Navisworks for that. What we can do is we can assign the issues that come from the clashes. So we scroll through and we select one of these, and I go ahead and run my test. And you can see we've got 139 new clashes. Anyone that works with Navisworks is familiar that sometimes we get clashes that aren't really truly clashes. The classic example, and we've even seen some of this in here, is we have a duct running through 20 joists. Navisworks says, hey, that's 20 clashes. It's not really. We know we drop that duct down a few inches, all those clashes go away. And typically that's handled with grouping. Whether we group it manually or add in like iConstruct or Sherlock, you group them together to get them in the same location. We can handle creating issues from individual clashes or from group clashes. And if you don't have a mechanism to automate that clash grouping, we include a clash grouper tool. So what this allows us to do is to select that same clash test. I'm doing with one, but you can do it with multiple. And then we can select it. I like to keep it simple and group by level and grid intersection. I go ahead and hit the group button, come back into my clash detective, and now you can see that we've got 36 new groups of clashes that have been intelligently named by level and grid intersection. So we've got a few in here, got a few more in here, and now if I go here and say clashed issues, and that particular dialog box is unique to Navisworks, I can select on that same test. I can see I've got 36 new, I've got 79 resolved. There's no need to create issues of things that have already been resolved. So I'm only going to publish the new ones. I can choose the information I want to publish from Navisworks into the description of the BIM Track issue, all the little blue check marks. Again, same functionality as we saw inside of Archicad. I hit publish, I create those 36 issues based on groups of clashes. Now I've already done this, so if I go ahead and take a look at these, we can see what it looks like to have one of these groups in place. So if I scroll down, this one's got 10. So there's a clash view from each clash. How they look is based on how your Navisworks is set up. But if I come here into the view and edit, you can see here's the information that we put into place that's available in the description. And the last little bit is if we think into the future, it's a week down the road, we do our typical coordination workflow, we come back in and we run this same scenario, but this time, instead of 36 new, it says 0 new, 10 active, and 26 approved. So we want to publish anything new, anything approved, and we pick on these boxes. And what these boxes do is it tells Navisworks to look at the previous status in Navisworks, which was new, and shows up as new inside of BIM Track, and anything that has a status in Navisworks of approved or resolved that gets published to BIM Track will automatically get changed to close in BIM Track. So it allows you to automate that process to close those things that automatically get sorted out in the wash when you're doing your typical coordination workflow. All right, let's hop back into the hub. So if I hop back into my hub, I go into my viewer. You can see that we we can see that IFC export that came from Archicad. I go ahead and turn that on, and we can now see our model. We can navigate around, zoom in, zoom out, all the things you can do inside of a viewer. You can also see that my slab is missing. So this is a profile, as I like to call it. So it affects the IFC schema. Anything that is a slab in the IFC schema comes through transparent. Anything that is structural comes in purple. And if you kind of look below, you can see some orange. So the mechanical stuff comes in orange. So I didn't change that in the authoring tool. It's a rule I put here in my schema. If you're not working with one of the add-ins where we publish, you also have the ability to select the add sign and just drag and drop IFCs in here. So those that need it have a way to view it. We also saw that we have sheets that we published someplace. And one of the cool things is that if we turn on a sheet and a model at the same time, we go into what we call hypermodeling, which essentially means that we can see the 2D and the 3D in the same place at the same time. So I'm just going to quickly turn on my clipping, pull this up, and now you can see that we've got our model and our sheet all at the same time. We can see the grids, the notes, we can see the information from the model, and if we click on the issues, we can review and create, add comments, all those things that we saw inside of Archicad and Navisworks. We can do that here inside of the web browser. So those people that aren't using BIM software can be part of that project to come in here and see everything that we see. And the last thing that we'll talk about, of course, is the metrics. So all of the intelligence that comes into play. So as soon as we click in, we see all this information. We can slice and dice by any category, including any of those custom ones. So let's look at our disciplines. We've got pie or donut. We're very dessert friendly here. Click on my architectural issues. Let's take a look at the priority of those. And now we see we've got a lot of high issues. So I'm going to click on those. And the majority of them are assigned to Alice. I know she's been on vacation this week, so I can extend her deadline a week. Maybe I assign some to Bob, or some to Erica, or some combination. But the real takeaway is that in 3 clicks, I was able to sort that information and get access to it. We can take it to the next level with our reports, which we've seen what we can do with quick filters. But we also have templates, which includes quick filter information, issues, and metrics that we choose. We can save that as a template. So let's say my open issues number 2. I bring this into play. We can schedule this, again, automate this task. So report, I want it to be weekly, Thursday at 5:59 p.m. And then I want to send a copy to the architectural and construction team. Boom. So now it's automated. Every Thursday that happens automatically. And if I hit print, you'll see what they get access to. So they get a copy of this report. You can save it as a PDF if you wish. So we can scroll through the metrics. Everything's clickable. We get down into the issues, image, information, all of the ongoing communication. And probably my favorite part is that I can click on the header, and this works in the PDF as well, and it takes us directly to that issue. So we can now action this information right here. So I can go ahead and say, Bob, where's that rooftop unit? It's on back order, 2 weeks. So I post that for the team, and we've addressed that issue. So whether we're all sitting in one room reviewing this on a big screen or spread it across the world, logged into our computers, everyone has access to that same information. We didn't have to pass around thumb drives with models on it. We didn't have to spend the first hour of our coordination meeting coordinating the meeting. Everybody has access to the information. They're seeing the same thing. So again, we get in, deal with the issues that need to be addressed, get back out. And again, this leads us all back to that idea of having more time to do the part of the job that we like, the design. And the last thing that I will show, because we mentioned it, is, of course, Power BI. So when we're in the metrics here, you see that we can see everything. But this is project-based. So in each project, we have metrics for that project. If we take advantage of our integration with Power BI, you can see that we get a dashboard. And this is one of the ones that we offer. We have a blog that sort of talks about this simple dashboard. But of course, if you have Power BI chops, you can create your own. You just need the API token key to access it. As you can see, it gives us information about different projects. You can also get pretty into it. You added some images, some information, way to see all of that different data based on different allocations and information inside of there. We're also in the final stages of beta for our turnkey solution for Power BI, and we sort of saw this in the slide deck. So if I come here and we've seen this basically is a dashboard that's turnkey, all the information about all of your projects in your hub available as a service. You just basically pay for it, and all the information that you need is there at your fingertips. You don't have to be a Power BI expert or any of that. It's all just there for you. Of course, the original way of tapping into the API and doing your own dashboard will also still be available. So that's sort of a high level of how you're going to get more time to make those award-winning designs using a product like BIM Track. And let me just pull up that slideshow to bring to that final slide to once again say thank you very much for your time today. Here's that QR code that we talked about if you want to pull down this presentation. And with that, I say thank you and happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much for that presentation, Carl. It's so exciting to see BIM Track working in Archicad. For Alexine, who isn't here anymore with BIM Track, thanks for the hat. It's followed me, and I've kept it. I think I got it back in Melbourne in 2016, and I think she said at the time you had to be an advanced user or a really key client to get your hands on one of these. Surprise, surprise, I still got one. Maybe I'm just an influencer of some sort, I don't know.
There you go. They are pretty nice hats, and they're very hot commodity, that is for sure.
Yeah, I look like the OG with this hat on. I feel like I'm 10 years younger when I put it on. I'm hip and happening with BIM Track. But, mate, before we go into the questions from the audience, and any questions that people have, please put them into the chat. For those that are new to the event, please just log into the chat so that you can post comments and see what's going on in the chat as well. So it'd be great if you could do that. So Carl, mate, it's kind of a Dorothy Dix question because we both kind of know the reason for this, but most of the people that might be watching may not have seen the likes of BIM Track before. Why was BIM Track created in the first place?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, Nathan, and really it was born out of necessity. The BIM1, who's the founders of BIM Track, were working on a large airport project, and they were having no luck keeping track of issues. They had all these different places where things were stored and shared around, and they were looking for a way that they could put everything in one spot and have really good visibility on the metrics and accountability. And there wasn't really anything out there, so our co-founder Carl Vett came up with BIM Track, and we've been out there fighting the good fight ever since.
Now, me personally, I've been frustrated. Celebri, I think, from my perspective, is an amazing tool. It does there's nothing to compare with it. Navisworks does in some ways does what it does for Revit users, but once a Revit user actually sees Celebri, for example, they kind of go, wow, it's next level. Now, Celebri's spectacular ability to be able to identify issues and all of that is spectacular, but you can't visualize it, and I think that, or track very cleanly how that works. And I think what I've seen in BIM Track, and I'm very excited to see it live, and in Archicad, I was very fortunate to receive a message from Carl once that plugin was live. So I'm very excited to see it connected to Archicad finally. So it's great news for Archicad users that want to track and visualize and see and manage their issues in a better environment than the current tools that are out there that can provide them. Now I've got a question for you from Rodrigo. Does BIM Track identify clashes?
Good question. Thanks, Rodrigo. So at the moment, what we do is we're laser focused on the issue tracking, communication management. So we leave the actual clash detection to your application. So whether that be Navisworks or Celebri, or some people are even using BIM 360 and tying us through that. That's where you do your clash detection, and then you bring that back into the platform we connect with. A really example, whether it's Celibri through BCF Live and connecting into BIM Track, or whether it's Navisworks, you have your workflow. And our real goal at BIM Track is to not give you a new workflow to learn. Our goal is to be there and help you improve your workflow by giving you an in-app experience where you can tie directly into all the issues in the platform that you like. I had a colleague that used to always call us the icing on the cake. And for me, that's the favorite part. So I like that analogy. You still got the cake, you still do your day-to-day stuff. We just like to help, get a little further along, get a little better results and visibility, as you mentioned, Nate.
Yeah, well, what's really funny is my 5-year-old daughter, you give her a piece of cake and all she'll eat is the icing, so she'd love your product.
I get it.
Carl, Francois, you're still going, mate. I'm so proud of you. You might last longer than me. Maybe I'll have to send you my computer details to log in so you can keep pushing the buttons for me, and we can do this visual DJ for the rest of the conference. But Carl, he wants to know whether or not BIM Track can deal with design requirements. So does BIM Track have the client's design requirements in it, and can you track it against that brief during the design process?
Sure, great question. So we're not necessarily a product like Derofus or something like that tracks those briefs, but we're absolutely a product where you could use that as an issue. So if there's one particular thing, say the client design brief, you could create that as an issue. You could have unlimited storage of information, images, PDF documents, add-ins assigned to that. So we have a lot of people that use BIM Track for a version thereof. But again, it's meant to be that this is something you can use on top of your regular workflow. We're not designed to be, a clash detection program. We're not designed to be a brief organization or coordination program. We're sort of focused on that issue tracking and communication. But with that being said, we do have a lot of people, once they use us on a project for that workflow, they kind of expand their horizons. Task management, drawing review, all those sort of things that come into play after the fact because, you've got that lovely icing, as we said. Let's spread it around a little bit.
So it's one of those things whereby once you start to see the software, you start to identify other potential use cases for it because you see the methodologies or the processes that you can use within the tool, and then essentially use it for other purposes. I was playing with a tool a number of years ago, and I was contemplating turning it into a defects list, or for other countries it might be called a punch list, and I can't remember what they call it in the UK. For the UK audience that are still
snag list.
Snag, there we go. So we're touching all the bases there, but it's positive they can do that. Now Miha's got an interesting one. This is good. I like these kind of really hardline questions. I feel like I'm on frontline here in Australia, but he's really liked your presentation. He's had a look at BIM Track. He's looked at your website. Hopefully you use my link because my link's really good. It shows you came from my event, so it shows BIM Track that it was good to participate with this event. BIM Track has BCF on steroids. Could you give an example on a vanilla BCF file and a steroid BCF comparison? Is that the combination of 2D and 3D? I like your question, Miha. I'm not laughing at you. I'm sorry.
I certainly like the way that's put in place, and that's a good point. The whole basis of BIM Track is that all the intelligence, all the information is stored inside of that BCF file. And what we like to do is we put it in one spot and we add all that additional stuff. So we make it a nice user-friendly user interface where you can add images, anything that you want to that. And that's where you get that BCF and steroids. And where we take it even that one step further is something like our integration with Power BI. So through that integration, we can then take all of that stuff we get through BCF, through all those different products, and put it in that lovely dashboard, make it look however we want, and track everything turnkey solution. So, we start off with the basic BCF, we add all the content and the locations from all the other platforms we're working with, and then we can take it that one step further and pump it out to something like Power BI and have that awesome looking dashboard.
And for those that saw Rosie's session a few hours ago, you probably understand the benefits of working with Power BI and how that can, essentially present the information in a palatable form rather than a machine form. Francois, hey, hypermodel, I feel right at home. I missed that.
Hypermodeling's great.
Okay. Now Gort's put a good question up there, and I think this is always a really important thing. So one of the things that we see when we go to look at software or purchase software, we see the feature lists we see the price cost point, whether it's a monthly subscription, annual subscription, or perpetual licensing. That's really transparent and we can see it. Carl, from your perspective, mate, now I know a couple of years ago you were working in industry and you started with BIM Track only a little while ago. I actually still have a photo on my phone when you were actually a volunteer at Built. I should try and find that while we're talking.
With the blue shirt?
Yeah, your blue Built shirt. I can't remember if that was in Vancouver or whether that was here in Australia. I can't remember. But
Ljubljana.
Ljubljana. Yep, well, I'll find that quicker. It was when we were cuddling kangaroos at midnight. There are kangaroos in Ljubljana, believe me. So how long does it take to learn? And what type of training is available for people that, if they purchase BIM Track, is training complimentary? Is training, what's the package of training?
That's a great question. And the first thing is you probably saw through the presentation is BIM Track is very intuitive and it's a simple user interface. So it doesn't take long at all to get up and get running. In fact, if you watch the session, what you saw there in the demo, you could be up and running right now. We do have a great customer success team that works with you. So when you purchase BIM Track, all of the training's included. And it's not just training for you, the person that bought it, but it's also training for everyone on your team that's going to be part of this. And if you were to take all the training that we offer, it would be 4 one-hour sessions. And typically, unless you're the admin that's running it, you don't need that. You want your product-specific training, Archicad, Revit, Navisworks, and then your training in the web hub. So a couple hours, you're up and running. And of course, we have in-app support to make sure that everything that you need is there. But that's really the beauty of the system is simplicity, and how easy it is to get up and running and get going.
Now, Carl, is that training free as part of your install, as part of the package, or is it just an add-on cost?
No, it's all included in the price when you purchase your BIM Track subscription.
And I can commend the sales team, because the second I signed up for my free connection a number of years ago, I got a phone call within a day, and I still enjoy my maple syrup, and there you are, mate.
There we go. Yes. That's when I lost my luggage and Bill took pity on me and gave me a volunteer shirt.
Okay. Now, this is actually another really important question from Jamie Ingram. Archicad does clash detection inside the platform. I suppose this can be sent to BIM Track. That would be probably, if you set those issues up as BCF, you could, yes. It probably wouldn't work as issues if you didn't actually set them up as BCF, because I don't think BIM Track would just suck up just the issues out of Archicad. Is that correct, Carl? Yeah,
so at the moment in the Archicad platform, what it's going to do is it's going to create an issue or review an issue a couple ways, whether it's something you created, like we saw the example in the presentation, whether it is a view. So if you went through and created issues and saved it as a separate view, you could then create them all in that views to issues functionality to bring it through. There isn't a separate clashes to issues feature like we have in Navisworks at the moment.
Yeah, no, well, that there's a lot of fun questions. Everyone's still fueling with the right stuff. Carl, thank you very much for your presentation, and I'm really excited to see that BIM Track's finally connected with Archicad, and it was in the middle of last year, but obviously there hasn't been much time to talk about or communicate it, and it's good to see that there's actually another option on the market for people. And thanks to Carl. It's come across, mate. You Ubered that Red Bull to me like you asked. I haven't cracked it yet. I'm waiting for a few more hours. But Carl, thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you very much for contributing to the event, and hope that people that are watching see the benefits of incorporating BIM Track into their workflows where they're currently in a position of undertaking issue management. We'll have a nice little break now for about 7 minutes, and we'll be back for our next session shortly. Thanks a lot, Carl.
Thanks, Nathan.